Welcome everyone to Mindful Moments. I'm really excited today to introduce you to Missy Brown from Deep Play for Kids. I think we share a common passion of bringing play at a very deep level to young children through mindfulness. So I'm really excited to talk to Missy today. So welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Helen, for inviting me. It's really an honor, and I'm very excited to be sharing this conversation and also this path together.
Great. So tell us, Missy, how did you end up on this path? Why is this what you're doing with your work and with your life?
It wasn't what I set out to do, and it wasn't something that I knew was going to unfold and cross my path. I am a mom of 3 grown sons and 2 delicious granddaughters, and I went to college to become a teacher. I love young children and really being in relationship with them and the privilege to do that. Like you said, we both share that. And when I was in high school, my uncle had traveled all over the world and was practicing meditation and yoga. And he suggested I try it. And I was not familiar with it. It wasn't something my family did. I grew up in Buffalo. There was really no yoga that was available where I was living in this small community. And I dipped my toe in it, and there were elements of it I enjoyed and elements that it took me a little time to really get used to. And then I found when I was babysitting that I was using some of the tools of yoga. And when I was a camp counselor, I was using the tools of yoga. And when I went to college and I was dealing with stress and anxiety that came up and separating from home, I was using the tools of yoga. This then carried over into my parenting. In addition, I was working in a preschool in the community I live in Connecticut, and I found I was using mindfulness, breathing, guided visualization during transitions, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm going to rephrase that. I knew I was doing something, but I didn't quite understand the science behind it. So I wanted to learn just for my own self-study and for my own knowledge to have a better understanding as a mom and working in a school with preschool age children. What was I doing so it could better inform me and so that I could really influence changing the climate in my home or in our classroom? And I took a week-long program at a yoga center here in the United States called Kripalu in 2002. It changed my life. I came home and I was very deeply, incredibly inspired and excited because yoga was not what it is right now. And it's beautiful that it's exploded out in the world. And yoga for children really was almost non-existent. It was being done by pockets of people here and there, but it wasn't really mainstream. So I had an incredible teacher who was a dancer, and she had been an educator, and she really used play-based yoga for all of these practices. And I was so excited about it. I came back and said, I want to do this, which changed the trajectory of my whole path and career. And my school director practiced yoga and said, let's try it in our classroom. So I said, great. We got the parents' permission. And a long story short, I took a year-long certification in which I had to practice, teach, and observe classes. And it was so well received that other schools heard about it and started contacting me. I then taught for 15 years in schools where all the children got this as part of the curriculum. So we tracked seeing how it evolved, how it unfolded, and really the impact it was having. And it was phenomenal. I mean, as you know, especially reaching children at that young of age, to get this into their pockets and into their backpack to set this foundation. So I created a kids yoga studio where I offered kids classes and cooking classes and art classes and science classes, all based in mindfulness. And then as these continued to grow, there were more and more people wanting adults to share this with kids, and the demand was very high. So I started a school of yoga, and now primarily what I do is I certify and share this that's been somehow gifted to me with others so they can bring it into the lives of children.
Wow.
So that's the elevator story about me and Play for Kids.
I love your story. And how did you come up with the name? Because I really love the name of your company, Play for Kids.
So back in 2002, 3, 4, even today, although back then it was viewed very differently, I really felt like using the word yoga would have a lot of doors closed. And so because to me, all of these tools are a part of yoga. You know, people think of yoga as like doing a tree pose or a mountain pose, and you and I and many people who are perhaps listening to this or who have had the privilege of being interviewed know that's just a small piece of it. And so it's really about doing deep work on ourselves, whether we're 2 or 92 and anything in between or before or after. So I needed to take the yoga out of all the yoga that I was teaching. And to this day, I still find there are at times resistance and roadblocks when the word yoga is used. So it just came up with Deep Play for Kids. It's actually now also Deep Play for All, because much more of the things I share is with adults and not children. But I still get to teach kids programs at Kripalu, so I still love being on the floor with kids.
Yeah, that's great. It keeps you in touch with what's going on, and it's so joyful working with young children, isn't it? So,
it's so joyful.
But yeah, it's great work that you're doing. So, tell us a little bit about some. I mean, you mentioned using the word yoga might be a challenge. What are some of the other challenges that you see facing children these days, or parents, or teachers? And how maybe these mindfulness practices can help?
That's such a great question. I feel this is all and everything I'm saying is just my personal belief.
Yeah.
I feel that stress and anxiety are at epidemic levels, and for adults as well as for children. And that parents these days, it's really tricky for them to know how to navigate this with their children because they're also experiencing it. So to have like emotional and psychological and physical and environmental safety, and to have opportunities to have tools to navigate so that those things can be more in our own control is challenging. And in addition, I feel like academic health is not as easily cultivated when those other states of health are not as strong. And these days, technology, while it's beautiful because it's allowing us to be on this conversation, goes everywhere with people. I mean, it used to be there was a big TV and you sat in front of it at home, and then, you know, phones and computers became more portable, and now they're in ears and on wrists and in pocketbooks, and they're everywhere. And so to be really like having this fragmentation of like having to jump from being connected to being disconnected, the brain is just continuously like rewiring and saying, wait, what's happening? Like, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be. And, and presence is being questioned, and connection is being lost. So I feel that these practices work for me, and they work for my own children, my children who I raised, and all the children that I've had the opportunities to get to share them with. And I believe they work, which is why they've become so big out in the world. So I just feel like if parents can practice these for themselves, have their own self-care, they then can embody and model having the environment that their children are in, whether it be in the car, in their home, in a school, in a yoga classroom, then this is what's being infused, and then this is what becomes the climate.
Definitely. I love everything that you said. Missy, what are maybe some practices or some things that you personally do on a daily basis to help manage stress levels that maybe our viewers could try or could take away?
So as we'll talk about in a few minutes, I think my products, one of my favorite products, although I love them all, is my breath book. Because I feel that breath is like a superpower for me. And I easily can get activated and anxious and triggered and get into like overdrive mode. But I always have my breath. And we always have our breath. So we don't have to go anywhere, buy anything, have special equipment. It doesn't cost any money to, no matter where we are, take a breath. So I feel breath is one of the most essential things that I practice and that I share with other people. And then to find ways to kidify it. So in yoga, there's Dirga breath, 3-part breath, which is a belly breath. And often we are chest breathers, some of us are. Mm-hmm. So to feel the breath in the belly. So want to do it with me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you're able to feel your feet on the floor, if you're sitting in a chair, but this can be done standing or laying down or anywhere, and place your hands on your belly and take the biggest breath in that you've taken all day. And then let it go with a sigh. And imagining that inside your belly is a balloon, and it can be any color you want. So take another big breath in, blowing the balloon up. Let the breath go and let the balloon deflate. So taking some belly breaths, which can really bring the mind and the body back into present. Mm-hmm. Another tool that I love sharing with parents and with teachers that I work with and kids that I work with when the mind is often distracted or monkey mind is very noisy, to tap into a sense. So something you hear, something you see, something you smell, something you taste. So tapping into the senses can also bring us, like myself, right back into the present. And if even for a split second, it's even like, oh, I hear my dog barking, and then I come back to, but I have to get ready for lunch and I don't know what I'm doing for my lesson this afternoon. Even if I go back into that chatter, in that split second, there's healing in my brain. There's a new groove. So tapping into the senses can be something that's really useful when anyone is wanting to just come back home to the self. And I feel that resilience is one of the things that I really work with for myself, because resilience, while it's useful in the worst of times, it's always needed, and it's a handbook for well-being. So if I can find a tool like my breath to bring me back to this moment, then that's why it's my superhero.
I love that. I love all those practices are wonderful, and such quick little things that you can do. Like, doesn't have to be a big drama and a big long thing, does it?
Exactly. Just for it just takes a moment.
Yeah. So wonderful. So tell us a little bit more. I know you've got physical products. They're beautifully designed. So tell us a little bit about what they are and how they help children or adults.
Thank you for asking. I'm really excited about them. So when I started teaching and sharing yoga with kids, there were not products on the market. And my sons were very resourceful and they helped me make things. So I would get pictures and they would laminate them and I would turn them into yoga flashcards, and I would write words and laminate them, and they would then help me bling them up. So I created a yoga pose deck, which is 52 cards of actual students of mine. So it's beautiful that there are so many products out on the market, but that was the first one I made. I wanted to have them of real children because I work with all abilities. And so if someone is differently abled and doesn't have the ability to look at a stick figure, but they can see a real child with an arm extended. So I made yoga postcards with my students, which was really fun. The next product I created was affirmation cards, and they're round and they're small. And I love the power of affirmations. I believe that they have such a potential potently to change our thoughts. So I have affirmation cards. And then the next product I made was my breath book. It has 48 breaths, and I'm also an adult yoga teacher and an adult yoga teacher trainer. So a lot of these breaths are scientific breaths that I've then just come up with names for, as many of us have who do this work. And my amazing artist, Evan Neidick, brought them to life with her beautiful illustrations. And then my last deck of cards that just came out a few months ago are feelings and emotions. So they're a set of emojis and a set of more advanced cards in one deck, really giving permission and space to have feelings, be with feelings, befriend feelings, and to start developing a relationship differently with these feelings. And then my last one was a bracelet that a jewelry company contacted me about, and we made an affirmation bracelet, and all the proceeds go to a nonprofit for it. So I'm very excited about my product.
Wonderful.
And I love that they're making their way out into the world so that people can use them in whatever way they'd like.
Yeah, wow, wonderful products. And just to let everyone know, Missy ships worldwide. So we will have the link for Deep Play for Kids, and you can look at her shop on there and see what the products look like and order them if you're interested. But I just want to say thank you again to Missy for sharing those wonderful practices and a little bit about the work that you're doing and coming on the Mindful Moments show.
Well, thank you so much, Helen. Thank you for inviting me. Such really a blast and a privilege to talk to you after so many years of watching the amazing things you're sharing and offering out in the world. So thank you again for inviting me.
Thanks, Missy.